Hi students, this video is going to review the term tragic hero. While we review this term, please take notes. The term tragic hero is going to be one that you will use during our entire Macbeth unit. That's why we're starting with it. So please make sure that by the end of this video, you not only understand in your mind what a tragic hero is, but you've also recorded on paper for later reference what a tragic hero is. Now, the objectives for this video are the following. First, we will define what a tragic hero is, and then we will also discuss how the tragic hero plays a critical role in the development of the tragedy. And again, during this video, please make sure to complete notes that you can then use later in class. So for starters, I'm going to name a couple different characteristics. And I want you to consider characters in movies, books, television shows that fulfill these requirements. So who does this remind you of? For starters, a character who is admirable. They have characteristics that people find trustworthy and inspiring. It's ultimately a good character who does good things. And because of this, they are also highly regarded in society. Oftentimes, their admirable characteristics has resulted or is the result of their position of power. They might be a king or a high political official, someone of power and authority. Another characteristic, this person doesn't fall or die alone. They may fall, they may die, but there are people there with them when it happens, because they're a person of such importance that even in their fall and death, people are there all around them, seeing it occur and possibly experiencing it with them. The next aspect is a capacity for suffering. So this admirable, powerful individual, as they fall or go towards their death, they are really tough during it. They have a high capacity for suffering where they will deal with emotional and physical pain in a strong way and continue on despite this suffering. They will not give up and they will keep going towards their goal, even though that goal, again, will cause them to fall or possibly die. And this ties into the idea of a sense of commitment. This character will not give up on what they want. Though everything is telling them not to do it and everything's getting in their way, they have a sense of commitment and they will stick to their guns. And last but not least, after they've experienced all this suffering and stayed committed to their goals, when they fall or reach their death, they have vigorous protest. They don't accept their death lightly. They don't accept their fall lightly. They argue against those who have caused this fall or death, whether it be the gods or other political figures, other people in positions of power or fate, or something that causes their fall and death. They protest against it. So now I want you to pause, and in your notes, I want you to write down 1, 2, it would be great if possibly 3, characters from books or movies or television shows that fulfill all of these characteristics. You should be able to write down at least one, because there's a character that we've dealt with already this year that fulfills all of these characteristics. So if you think you can't think of one, you're wrong. Think of who we've read about this year, because that character does fulfill all of these requirements. So go ahead and pause your video and write down that name. Now that you've written down your character's name, please be ready to share out these characters' names in class tomorrow. Alright, so next, these characteristics all apply to the tragic hero. And the tragic hero, the concept of it, was created by Aristotle when he created a clear definition of what a tragedy is. So according to Aristotle, this guy, a tragic hero comes from nobility, which links to the idea that they have positions of power, whether they're a king, a queen, have political powers of some sort, some role of authority. They come from nobility. They wear the crown. Also, they have a tragic flaw, and this is a simple mistake in their character. It could be pride or also hubris. So this isn't a huge overarching problem in their character. It's a small flaw that is then aggravated by a situation in the story. And due to this flaw, as it becomes aggravated in the story, the character undergoes a reversal of fortune, where they go from being in this high noble position to a low position of poverty or shame or even death. And therefore, this is their downfall. They have experienced a downfall due to their tragic flaw. And last but not least, the character recognizes his or her mistakes. And because they recognize it, the audience feels pity for them and fear. Even if this tragic hero has done something terrible, it feels as though this terrible thing is something that happened to them, because otherwise they are a very good person. And therefore, the audience feels bad for them when their downfall occurs. So Aristotle created this definition of a tragic hero, and from this definition came several important terms that you're going to want to make sure that you know. So these terms include hamartia, which is the flaw that causes a tragic downfall, or the tragic downfall. So for instance, in Macbeth, the book that we are going to read next, or the play, Macbeth is going to have his hamartia, a flaw that causes his tragic downfall. So we'll need to pay attention to what flaw that may be. The next term that we need to know is hubris, which is excessive pride or confidence. Oftentimes our tragic hero will have hubris because they've been so admired and so powerful for so much of their life that they have pride and confidence for good reason. However, this hubris oftentimes is what aggravates the hamartia, the tragic flaw, because they refuse to admit that there is a flaw in their personality that could cause them problems. So the hubris aggravates the hamartia. Next comes peripeteia, and that's the reversal in luck or fortune. So Macbeth, for instance, is going to begin in a very high position of power within the royal court. And by the end, he will have a reversal in that luck or fortune. And this is called peripeteia. Next comes anagnorisis. This is when the hero makes a critical discovery. This can be a range of critical discoveries, but this discovery is likely going to come at the climax, which is a term we've reviewed recently, will likely come towards the end of the rising action or the climax of the story, where they make a critical discovery that reveals just how terrible their flaw has become and just how serious their downfall is going to be. So for instance, last year you read Oedipus. The anagnorisis would be when Oedipus makes the terrible discovery that he is married and bare children with his mother and killed his father. So Macbeth too will have an anagnorisis, where he makes a critical discovery about his own flaw and his eventual tragic downfall. Next comes the term nemesis. And nemesis we oftentimes think of like the arch nemesis, and it is connected to that. But the nemesis is specifically fate that cannot be reversed. So the nemesis that the tragic hero has isn't an individual, it's not a person, it's fate, which cannot be overcome. So the thing that is working against our tragic hero, their nemesis, is fate, because they are doomed to suffer this tragic downfall no matter what they do. And last but not least, as mentioned in the previous slide, an important term is catharsis. And catharsis is the tone of pity, fear, or anger that the audience is going to be left with after the characters fall. So at the end of Oedipus, you might have felt bad for Oedipus because his life was ruined when he didn't realize he was actually making those mistakes. You might feel fear that something terrible like that could happen to you as well. What if you make a terrible mistake and don't realize that you are? Are you going to reach the same kind of tragic downfall? Or you also might feel anger that it occurred, that it wasn't fair, that the character was a good person and they didn't deserve what happened to them. So the audience can feel pity, fear, or anger, and they do this for the character. It's not against them, They feel these things because of the character's fall, and because the character's fall necessarily doesn't seem fair. So those are the terms that you need to have in your notes. Please make sure that you pause this video and copy these down into your notes, not only in a way that they're memorized, but so that you can understand them when you refer back to it. So you don't have to use the exact wording. Write it in a way that will help you understand what these terms mean. And that's the end of the video. Make sure that you have these notes ready for class tomorrow. See you Monday. Bye.